This is one of those moments where you think about the path that you're on, and a little voice creeps in and goes, "Hey, hey, what if it's all a bunch of wank and you suck?" So I'm having one of those moments this evening, probably kick-started by the poorly performing previous video. That was called alliteration, by the way. So yeah, I just figured I'd document it because, like I said, this channel is going to be all of the shit that I'm struggling with at the moment. Not stuff that I've overcome yet. And I mean, it's not a big struggle. I mean, in general, it's hard to see what's been happening with my main channel as anything but a success. But the interesting psychological thing is that there's a big contrast between my poorly performing videos and my well performing videos. It's like it either hits or it just doesn't. And after I got a couple hits in a row, I was like, oh, I must have figured it out now. And I made extra effort with that latest video to make sure that it was another one of those hits, because it was a paid sponsorship, and it just completely flopped. So I mean, it could still do something maybe, but at this point, unlikely. So I guess I fell off. Of course, I haven't fallen off, and that's just what the voice says. But it's important for me, I find, in these moments of doubt, to not to completely ignore, shun, and push away the voice of doubt, but to listen to it, to hear it out, to be like, okay, well, it's kind of similar if you're in an argument with somebody. Like, if you're in an argument with someone, it's poor form to try to get them to just shut up. You'll never win the argument that way. And it's poor form to just keep repeating your position, because you'll never win the argument that way. The way you win the argument is understanding their position, ideally better than they understand their position, and then providing the fuller truth. And so when you're having these internal conflicts of, like, there's the part of you that thinks I'm the shit, and there's the part of you that thinks, like, I am the dirt of the earth and nothing I do will ever work. And those two parts argue with themselves quite often when you're thinking about your goals and the stuff that you want to achieve. And if you want to deal with that voice that's like, you ain't gonna do shit, you have to hear it out, and you have to try to understand where it's coming from. So when that thread presents itself, I try to actually pull the thread and see what else is behind the tapestry, what else is underneath that, because there'll be stuff underneath it that you can't see yet, that's hidden under the tapestry. And if you pull it through, then what reveals itself is often less impressive than the original voice in your head seemed. And so people tend to either have one of two approaches to the voice of doubt. They either try and completely shut it up and just don't listen to it, and when they start to doubt themselves, they go, shit, no, that's bullshit, shut up, la 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 la. And then the other people just go, oh, because I'm feeling doubtful right now, this must be the whole truth. And I think that's the more common approach. People say, ah, yes, I feel this way right now, so this must be reflective of the truth always. But really it's just reflective of the truth now, not the truth always, which are very different things. And I think as humans we have a tendency to make judgments when we're in emotionally volatile states. I remember when I was suffering quite a lot with, like, mental illness problems. This was one of the main struggles that I had, was whenever a depressive episode hit or an anxiety episode hit, I would go into neurotic thinking mode. So I'd start thinking like crazy, and I'd be like trying to understand where the emotion was coming from, and whether it was right and whether it was wrong, and I'd be like, really, it would make my brain go. And thinking is in large part making judgments about things. And so when the subject of your thought is your own life, while you're in an emotionally volatile state, and then you go ahead and that's the only time you ever make judgments and decisions, and you ever put your stamp of judgment onto reality, then when you sober up from your emotions, then later down the line you're gonna find you've got all of these beliefs and judgments about reality that you came to under very emotionally volatile circumstances that then influence you when you're actually not feeling that bad. And so it's important to suspend judgment when you're in an emotional state. I've also been thinking about this second channel, because I'm not very good at just doing what I'm doing right now, which is monologuing. I'm not used to it. I've never had a reason to do it. I guess I always have that's a good point actually. I do always have a very noticeable internal monologue running, so I guess just externalizing that shouldn't be too hard, but that's a good point. Then I wouldn't have to be in a state of, I'd have to be just in a purely, I don't know how I would phrase this, but like I'd have to be in a state in which the type of state you're in when you believe you're alone. Because when you're talking to other people, all of a sudden it has to make sense, and so you have to find some narrative structure to the stuff that you're saying, and all of this stuff comes up, and that makes me see multiple different ways I could take the sentence and the video and the recording in general and the topic of discussion, and I find myself stopping because I see the different routes and I think which is a better way to go with this. Like I'm doing it right now. There's multiple ways that I can go with what I just said, and so I'm stopping to think about which one I should go with, which makes my speech very stoppy-starty, which is, I guess, a skill that's to be learnt by me moving forwards, because I do want to eventually start a podcast, and I don't want to piss off all the guests by being like, okay. Oh yeah, I'm starting a podcast, by the way. I don't know when, but next year. So if you have anybody that you would want to see as a guest, and if you have any ideas or suggestions of what to name it, let me know. But I think that's it. I just wanted to capture this moment and verbalize how I'm going about dealing with the doubt and what I'm doing. I'm also taking, that's the other thing, I've come to the conclusion that over the past month, but the past few months, but especially the past month, I've been losing balance in that I've sort of been scrolling on TikTok a lot, opening up my apps, checking YouTube Studio, checking comments, and I've been in a very reactive state for a while, and I haven't been able to get off the internet. So taking a step back from all of that and just, I got this book, I think it's in the other room. I just started reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert Pirsig, and you should definitely read that if you haven't. I'm like a chapter in, so I can't really give that advice yet, but I can tell from the first chapter that this is an author worth paying attention to, and that the rest of the book is likely going to be very impressive. So yeah, and it's written in a novelistic style as well, so it's not like a fucking Beyond Good and Evil where you're reading it just like feeling like you've got a hammer inside of your cranium. It's more of like a enjoyable experience to actually go through. So yeah, I think that's it. Oh yeah, I need an outro, and I think it's gonna be stay honest, because I think that's the most important of all the virtues. I could say stay real, which is similar and sounds cooler, but honest is more accurate, I think, so I'll say stay honest.